First to you, Lee. I'd love to hear a little more from you about how you assess would-be clients perhaps who might be nursing injuries or perhaps disabilities.
It's always an interesting one to understand how people move, which is the most important thing when you come to injury or individuals when they're training. So if they have an injury or a disability or anything like that at all, it's about understanding what patterning can happen with their movements. And then their threshold, their balance, their understanding of themselves, what they can actually do. So it's really, you'd sort of piggyback on the back of what they think they can do. A lot of people will work within their boundaries and their ranges, and you'll hear from Greg in a while about that, about how they can only do certain things because otherwise it hurts too much or they don't know how to do it or their body doesn't work that way. And I was pretty lucky when I was in the Army, when I was training to be a PTI, I spent the 2 years at the hospital rebuilding people. So once they were broken or jumped, I was a paratrooper, so they would jump in and break their legs or anything like that. So you'd have to recreate movements and patterns that they could then move to. And then it just became one of those things that I continually just saw and did with every person.
Tell me about how you came to be collaborating with Greg Hibbard, who's with us in the 666 ABC Radio Canberra studios. Of course, is the recipient of a bronze medal in 2006 for the World Championships for shot put.
Well, young Greg, we were doing Kokoda track, and I had to get him ready to track different sections or parts of the track. So again, working with his cerebral palsy, or just what his disability may have led him not to do or do, then understanding what he could do outside of that with intensity training, understanding the movements that he could do, and then build upon those, and then work out how to then create different patterns or movements so he could actually achieve a lot more than he did. And of course, he's a medalist.
Greg, Yuma, and welcome to you. What do you remember about working with Lee to get ready for something like that? Because for many of us, it would be pretty daunting.
It was a different level of training I've never done before. So I was at the AIS for most of my young career, from the age of about 14. And then I finished up after Beijing, and then I got, for want of a better word, bored. And got a bit larger around the middle and realised that I needed to do something. And when I was sitting on the soccer field, someone said, come and do Kokoda. And I'm like, sure, no worries. We'll give that a crack. Because I've got family connections to that area in Papua New Guinea. And then I at that stage, you were at Monica.
Yep.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to realise it was a different form of training in terms of when you're when you're training for an Olympics, you have a purpose. You everything is fine tuned to your end goal is to throw, run, jump, do whatever at your peak. For Kokoda, it was I don't care how you get over that obstacle, which I think was a bench in Monica swimming pool, and you said climb over the bench, and I was trying to get up on the first bit where you would sit with just my feet. In this term, it was you have to get over this because otherwise you're camping right there. You train now to better yourself and your body because you're in this body for however long your time is on this earth. You have to make sure you take care of it.
Just how audacious was your pursuit of this experience, Greg? I mean, you live with cerebral palsy. Mm-hmm. Were you aware of anyone else achieving something like that with cerebral palsy? And I suppose also interested in the split between the physical training and the mental training and what you thought was more useful or most important.
I would say you have to be physically fit, and there was a big spread of people on our group, and I knew people that did the track previously with other disabilities. You never get the same person with the same CP almost. They're all different. So, and I was physically strong. Lee worked on my mental awareness, and I still wasn't strong enough when I was on the track. Because I remember you said there'll be one day that you will crack, and people crack.
Yeah,
and you start thinking about everything in your life.
Yeah, so we'll get to that in just a moment with your recollections of exactly what happened. Lee, what do you remember about the lead up?
For Greg?
Yeah.
The journey begins from when they're ready for the journey to begin. You can only put so much into I guess, their psyche or their place about it. The mental awareness is one of the good things that Greg touched on, because it doesn't matter how able-bodied you are or how fit or how strong you are. Kokoda is one of those places where there's every day someone will find there's just something. You've got yourself on your own. There's no devices and nothing else. It's a place where you just can't hide from. But the mental awareness is one of those things, because, I get tarnished or tagged with the thing of tough love all the time. It's like, well, just get up and do it, because at the end of the day, mentally you've got to be strong enough to fall over and get back up. However that fall or however that happens, you need to do it. But also on the other side is you've got to prepare them to stand up and get back up, because you can fall over, but if no one's going to prepare to help you up, that's the real difference. So, there's a lot of get up and do it, but also nurturing in the fact of you can go further and you can find a lot more. And, Greggy was, to his credit, knowing that where his journey is, achieved what he could and how he could due to that fact.
Greg, take us to the break on the Kokoda track. What happened?
I don't quite know how to explain it. It just becomes all-encompassing, all on top, and you start thinking about the most ludicrous things. They're like, if I just had this, I'd be okay. And it wasn't to do with food, or sleep, or a shower, or a proper toilet, which I have absolutely the utmost respect for after doing the Kokoda. Like, I quite like toilets now. But yeah, it really hurt. And Lee set me up with 4 legends, which were the sons of the family members, of the Fuzzy Wuzzy Angels. And I was walking at that stage with one of the other team members, and he's quite well known in the Australian landscape. And he basically he came up to me, because I would start first, and then everybody else would overtake me because of the way I move. Like, by about lunchtime, I'm starting to hurt. By afternoon tea, I'm really hurting, and I'm crawling into camp. And the first climb was I remember, I didn't eat enough, went into calorie deficit, because I was like, I've got to keep my food because I'll need it later, and all this type of stuff. And then this gentleman picked me up and said, no, you're walking over this ridge and we'll get you there. And so we did that. The things that I found most challenging, and I'll say this on radio, is I can't do a deep enough squat that most people do. When you're walking in the bush and nature comes calling, you need to squat. So how do you do that, right? So within the first 6 hours, I did 2 of the things I didn't want to do: get my feet wet, and had to use the loo, right? And I remember the legends they were great. They turned away from when you had those moments where you had to have a bit of privacy. But apart from that, if they told you to put your foot, 2 inches to your left, you put it there and only there, not slightly to where you think it's safe. And as Lee said, you fall over a lot, whether that's physically or mentally. It's how you pick yourself up. I was an athlete, as I said, reached the pinnacle of that sport, needed something else, and then realised that I wasn't the person I thought I was. So I came back from the track and changed the way I looked at life. Like, I had a heap of technology, all this stuff, right? And just it all went to the bin. I was in a small flat and just totally cleaned it. So it does change your life. It stays with you. And every time that the year comes around and on our anniversary, you think about it fondly. And that's how Lee taught me how to use the potential of what you have for the greater good. And I've kept that with all my work. Even when I'm working in government now, I go, but why? You become that disruptor that people hate. And I just sit there and go, yeah, you could do it if you want, but you don't, because people put cost to it, money to it. If you take that away, you get this tangible thing that you can mould.
It sounds like you've seen these kinds of transitions in a lot of the people that you've trained over the years, particularly people of all abilities, Lee.
Correct, yeah. the personal journey is the one where people reassess what they've done, how they need to do things, what the next step is. And Kokoda is one of those places where a lot of self-evaluation goes on, awareness of yourself. You need to understand, again, we get caught up in this world of just too much. There's just too much of everything. When you strip it back, you're still the same person. Well, you're the person that you want to be, and you get to choose that. You walk off the track, and then you can then reshape. It's a break. It's a circuit breaker. You can reassess and go, this is what I want to do. My best mate's done it for the last 10 years. So every March we do the first one of the season, and it's his reset button every year. And you can explore new things and do new things, but also understand your potential. He takes that tough love attitude now. If you can do it, why wouldn't you do it if you can do it? Like, why would you sit down and not run when you can run? And he can run. He just needs to know how to do it again.
Also joining us in the studio is one of your current clients, Kiz Welling. Well, ongoing clients, because she hasn't just done Kokoda once, she's done it twice, and she's going back for a third time with her partner, Kath, who lives with MS. How is the training going, Kiz? And I suppose having done it twice already, how's it changed your life?
It's changed my life stacks. I think it made me... I actually had a really tough the end of last year because Kath's MS was quite bad due to a family member passing. It triggered a flare, and I took on all the responsibility of providing for the family and doing everything that I needed to do. So it was very much needed for me, and it was really great for me to go and do the track and just, as Lee said, just switch off from everything, and all I had to worry about was myself for a week. And that was, I think, the most important bit for me. The training's going really well. It's super inspiring to watch Kath train with Lee. And I've known Lee, a friend of mine, and I've known him for about 10 years now. And so I've watched him train lots of people with disabilities and things that they find more difficult. And I've watched him train Greg as well. And I've watched Greg fall, and I've watched him work so hard, and I've watched Kath fall and watched her work so hard, and many other people as well. So really I don't have anything to complain about. So when I'm finding it tough, I just think of those guys and think about how much harder they're finding it.
You've made some interesting observations, though, haven't you, Kiz, about the role of music and other tools on the training journey. Are there other tricks that you've got in your toolbox, Lee, for bringing out the very best, excellence, training people of all abilities? A lot of us have silent disabilities or invisible disabilities, hidden illnesses.
Yeah, everyone has something. Everyone has some little thing or something going on mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Things just, there's always something. And Kath's always... With Kath, she loves singing. She performs, as the whole family does. With Kath, this day we're talking about, I'd been watching her before that, trying to get her momentum and her timing going with skipping and hopping and jumping and everything. And then we just picked up a beat that I'd seen in her patterning when she was moving, that it was just a beat to the beat. So I just put this beat on that she would actually step and move to, and picked it up straight away. Like, it was just... It's an intuitive thing. You've got to see how people move the whole time. I watch people all day, every day, and just see how they move, how they function. Biomechanically, it's never the same. And with Greg, for example, and Andy, when we're talking about stride and how they lift, he'll scrape his leg to the left-hand or right-hand side when he's stepping through because he can't lift it high enough to see. So therefore, you've got to create a movement that will make him lift that pattern. So it's understanding so much about an environment that you can create for them, individually for them, that they'll then be able to do. Yeah,
it's you touched on something I wanted to say, which the way my CP works is, if you think of my neural pathways, it's like moving through mud on Kokoda, right? Sand, yeah. Mud.
Quicksand we used, the example, yeah.
Yep. So I can get through it. It's just going to take time, okay? And the more you do something, so repetition, then it becomes your second nature, and you don't have to think about it, right? And so that's when your improvements come. And I started learning about this when I was a younger athlete, because they were changing rules in the Paralympics at the time. And you can't just change a rule in the Paralympics and expect people to perform where you need to perform. You need time to train. Same thing with this. But I just got it with Lee. Like, we've got a task to do, you've got to do that task. But right now, in this very moment, just do it.
And it sounds like all of this has paid dividends for you personally also, Greg, as a father of two now at a different time in your life. Thank you so much for sharing what you could with us here on ABC Radio Canberra, particularly about that lasting impact of experiencing the Kokoda Trek and training for it, breaking on it, coming through it. And also, Kiz, very best of luck with your third trek coming up, the fundraiser for MS Plus. And Lee, very best of luck training all the different athletes that you're involved in here in Canberra and beyond.
Thank you.
First to you, Lee, I'd love to hear a little more from you about how you assess would-be clients perhaps who might be nursing injuries or perhaps disabilities.
It's always an interesting one to understand how people move, which is the most important thing when you come to injury or individuals when they're training. So if they have an injury or a disability or anything like that at all, it's about understanding what patterning can happen with their movements. And then their threshold, their balance, their understanding of themselves, what they can actually do. So it's really, you'd sort of piggyback on the back of what they think they can do. A lot of people